Okay, so we're back and we're looking now at the competitive language and how to use it. How to get your product noticed online in the UK. You've got to remember the UK is very, very mature from the point of view of computers. Searching for things and purchasing products online, finding products. And again, it doesn't matter if you're looking from the trade point of view or whether you're looking from the retail direct to the customer point of view. We are all very good at finding tradespeople online. So it might be through the LinkedIn network, it might be through Amazon, it may be through the trade press. And there's lots of trade sites in the UK where you can go and advertise your products. You know, and the same with the Alibabas of the world. There are lots of sites like that, and Alibaba is used very, very exclusively by a lot of UK entrepreneurs and businesses for sourcing product. So that might be some of your competitors. But one of the first things you need to do, and that is use English. Not American English, not Canadian English, Australian English. You need to use English on your websites. Now, it's not a 100% rule. You can use a lot of the other languages when you are using them as hidden keywords or other places on your web pages. So again, if you're employing outsourced staff to write your web pages, your product pages, your descriptions, things like that, if you're using outsourced staff in the Philippines, India, Europe, this is where I've employed lots of outsourcers, but for writing product data, I always use native English speakers and people who've got good English education from the point of view of grammar. The majority of the UK is English taught in the schools, so you need to portray that in your products. It's interesting because from the point of view of the Estonian language, if I use Google Translate or Facebook translation tool, when I get messages from people in Estonian and I use that tool, it turns out to be something completely different very often to what they've said. And I ask my wife, who is Estonian, as you know, I'll ask her to translate it and she'll say, oh, that means nothing. This is what it really translates to. So don't use automated translation, use dedicated translation. If you need any help with that, I've got contacts I can put you in touch with who can do that. But it's not a 100% rule, as you'll see. Colour in the UK is spelled C-O-L-O-U-R and colour in America is C-O-L-O-R. Now we use both in product data, but for the visible parts of english.co.uk and .biz websites, we will use the correct English spelling of colour. We will use the American spelling of colour in the back end somewhere where you would look at it from a hidden keyword or key phrase search. More about that later. And that's where we'd use it. Now, I worked with a client that was selling pajamas, and this will just give you an example. Pajamas, PJs, those are the common phrases and misspellings of pajamas. And a massive percentage of their business was derived when they started using the incorrect spellings in their descriptions. And they got a whole brand new market, and they increased their turnover, they increased their number of customers. This was a business consumer case, but the same rules apply. People do spell things incorrectly and spell things as they sound, and especially if you've got a regional market where you've got perhaps people from different countries, different cultures, not fully understanding the English word, there is an opportunity there, because some people will spell it phonetically as it sounds as opposed to as it actually is. That takes me on quite nicely to regional languages. Now, without getting into the international languages, let's first of all kick off here. This is if you're targeting certain areas, and what I'm doing here at the moment is saying purely on your product, getting it to an end consumer. So in England, in London, you have something called the Cockney language, and Cockneys, they have their own particular words for certain things. Now, you might have a product and you may be targeting London and Londoners. So if you're purely targeting London and Londoners, what you want to do is ascertain the data that might be used locally by the Cockney speaking fraternity, because they will search online that way. So you need to understand those local differences. And again, Birmingham are Brummies. They have their own set of unique words for certain things. Liverpool, Liverpudlians. Newcastle, up in the north, well, they're Northerners. They all have distinct words for certain things, certain phrases. And it may be that you don't use those on your front page on your website, but you use it in your hidden keywords, or you use it further down in the text where it can be found but not seen easily. And it's surprising, if you put in those keywords and those key phrases that are regionalized, you will start to get greater hits. It really, really does work. Northern Ireland, you've got Irish, Welsh. Well, Welsh, you've got a whole different language completely. So it's a Celtic language. And if you are targeting the 3 million odd people in Wales, then you need to possibly think about doing a Welsh version of your product, because not all 3 million will be searching online in Welsh, but there could be a couple of million that would be searching and using Welsh to actually do things and find services, products and that type of thing. So it's worthwhile looking at that market, and then you can make the decision once you understand the numbers. So there's 3 million people. What is my target market? It's 500,000 of the Welsh speakers. Therefore, you've then got to make a decision. Is that 500,000 valuable enough to have a Welsh version of that website? And if that's the case, you need somebody from Wales to go through and actually create the data for you. You need a fluent Welsh speaker and Welsh grammar writer. It's more important to have somebody with the written skills than the spoken skills, because it's the written skills that Google and Bing and Yahoo and everybody else, that's what they're searching. And the same with Scottish. Scottish very much is a Celtic language which is primarily English, but it's got a lot of words in there that are very, very different to the run-of-the-mill daily English words. So let's have a quick look at something else here which I think is fascinating. And this is the breakdown. Now these figures are a little bit old, they're 2011. So they've changed a little bit, but these are the best I could get for the time. These are the most up to date. So the Polish community in England is about 1%, 500,000 people. So if your product has or service has the flavour weight, you're selling it well in Poland now, is 500,000 people a good market for you in the UK? Now, a lot of those will be English speaking and English searching, but also they will be looking for product that they're familiar with in Polish, in Punjabi, in Urdu, Bengali, etc, etc, etc. So you need to make those decisions, but this gives you a really good idea of what that market breakdown is, and then you can start putting data, marketing, advertising, directing it to those target markets, and then obviously breaking those demographics down into male, female, young, old, etc. as we have done before. So that is a brilliant way of moving forward and finding out who the demographic area is. And then if we go back to England, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland, you've also then got the areas of England that you might want to target. And obviously London and the south east of the UK is the most densely populated part of the UK. But Midlands and Birmingham, that has got a very, very good concentration. Southwest Cornwall, Devon, that has a more sparse population, but that also has a high holiday population. So that area is quite transitory. So you might want to target that area if your products and services are related to things like holidays or vacation. Those areas are very, very good for those markets. That just gives you an idea. We can spend hours and hours on this. I just wanted to give you an overview of this particular part of the presentation. Next, we're going to break into another subject, which will be the internal trade speak. So when you are dealing with your tradespeople, your trade partners, this area here, you really need to be up to speed. If you're going into engineering, machinery, parts, and internal large companies with big internal policies and procedures, a lot of these companies have their own internal language. They won't call a hammer, they might call it something different. They will call different things to the general public or to the engineers over in Estonia. So you need to actually find out what the internal trade language or the internal trade speak is of your trade partners when you're wanting to deal with them. A lot of it you may already know, but there may be some key ones or some new ones that you don't, and that is something you really need to get into. I'm going to leave this video there, and we're going to come back and carry on with this session in the next one. Look forward to seeing you shortly.